Welcome to the 2022 Oswego State of the Village. I'm Troy Parlier, Village President of Oswego, and I'm very happy to see you here today. Before I get started, I want to thank Classic Cinemas for providing this wonderful setting for this event. Last time I was in this theater was to watch Spider-Man No Way Home, twice. So I hope they had a year that exceeded their expectations and many more to come. Also a big thank you to the Oswego Chamber of Commerce for hosting the State of the Village once again. We've enjoyed an excellent relationship with Chamber President Angie Hibben, the leadership teams, and all the members. Our accomplishment list would be much smaller without the support of our chamber. I would also like to thank my family and my wife, who's here today, for their constant support, and thank God for daily guidance. We have several elected officials with us today that I would like to recognize. Would the members of the Oswego Village Board please stand when your name is called? I know many of us are here. I can start from left to right. Terry Olson will be here in a few minutes. He's caught in the snow. Jennifer Jones-Sinnott, could you stand up? I can see you.
Okay. Sure.
Tom Geist is unable to be with us today. Kit's here. Kit, could you stand up? James Martyr also is with us. Jimmy, could you stand up? Brian Thomas is not with us today, I don't think. Not yet. But this is our board. Thank you, guys. We also have many representatives from our elected officials here today, and we also have one former village president. Craig Weber is with us today. Craig, could you stand? And Linda Holmes' office and Stephanie Kifowitz's office have representatives here today. Michael Bailey, Michelle Cianferri, Molly Brennan. If you are here, please stand. We'll recognize you, but we appreciate the support. And also from Keith Wheeler's office, Rusty Cornels. And from the Kendall County Board, Dan Copel. Dan, if you wouldn't mind standing. Thank you all for being here today. I can hardly believe this is my third State of the Village address. In many ways, it seems it was just like yesterday when I gave my first address. And I can clearly remember talking about projects on the horizon, things yet to come. Well, looking back, it's safe to say we've accomplished a great deal and much, much more on the horizon now. Life is not a matter of holding good cards, but sometimes playing a good hand well. That's a quote from Jack London. And this quote packs a lot of meaning for me and is a perfect metaphor for what we've encountered here in Oswego. We hold good cards. Well, really, we hold great cards. No question about that. We have a great village. The support we receive from our residents is second to none. Our business community and Chamber of Commerce work side by side with us. Our state legislators are watching out for our interests. Our village staff, police, and public works departments are pillars of strength. These are certainly great cards to play. But there can also be bumps in the road. There are supply chain issues, unforeseen repairs, inflation, severe weather events, loss of key employees, even pandemics and global unrest. Sometimes we just have to accept the circumstances, the bad hand, and do our best. In fact, I believe you're more defined by how you play the bad hand than how you play the good hand. That's what we've been trying to do. Enjoy the good fortune, but when we're dealt a bad hand, work together, reach out for advice, seek alternatives, be open to ideas in general, and when we follow that path, we always play a winning hand. Now, there's an old famous story about these guys named Peter and Jesus. Now, Peter was a fisherman. As a matter of fact, that was his family business for generations and generations. You can imagine he wasn't open to many new ideas about fishing. He knew everything there was to know. He had run into a run of bad luck. He was up all night fishing, didn't have a single fish to show for it. He pulled in his boat, tired, cleaned his gear for the day, stored everything away. Then this guy Jesus showed up in the middle of the day and said, "Put your boat back out. I'll show you how and where to fish." So you can imagine what Peter was thinking. Who is this guy? What's he know about fishing? I've done this my whole life. Nobody can tell me anything. But he went out. He put his boat back out, and it was a good thing he did. Peter filled his net and had a record catch of fish. And you know, Peter didn't want to go out that day again, but he didn't rely on himself and listen to someone else. So sometimes when you get the bad hand, you alone don't have all the answers to turn the situation around. Actually, that's most of the time. The lesson here is to rely on others, expand your knowledge base. The team is always stronger than the one. It's great to know we can rely on the combined knowledge, experience, and compassion of all of our community, our good cards. With that, sometimes you turn the bad hands into winning hands. Now let's take a look at some of those winning hands we've had the past year. I have several slides on fiscal highlights. This has been a tremendous year for Oswego. But to kick the year off, we had some old debt, some debt from the police department when we built that. We were able to take our public funded debt and move it into the private market and save $1.6 million. Okay, and that's over the 16-year life left on those bonds. So we saved over $100,000 a year for the village just by taking those bonds back out from the public market to the private market. And of course, when it came time to set our tax levy, we were able to cut that by another 0.5%. So that follows our first 2 years where we cut 1.5%, another 0.5%, and this year we cut it another 0.5%. So far, year to date, our general fund revenues are up an amazing 11% through 9 months. And just as well, to help the ledger, our general fund expenses are down 3% year to date through 9 months of the fiscal year. Our water and sewer fund right now has a $2 million excess, revenues over expenses. And this leads us to currently our general fund surplus of $3 million through 9 months of the fiscal year. Quite amazing. Now, we also had some ARPA relief funds from the government. We didn't want to confuse that with what we're doing in the general fund, so we created a separate account for that. And our first check from the government was for $2.46 million, and that sits in a separate account in the village. So if you add this up, our general fund surplus right now, our ARPA COVID money from the government, simple arithmetic tells you we have $5 million more this year than we anticipated, which is a great thing, because as you all know, we have some very big projects coming up. Our general fund balance, okay, this is what cash we keep on hand in the general fund, by our ordinance requires us to keep a 30% balance intact in case we run into budget struggles or some catastrophic events that happen. So when we took office 2 years ago to where we were at the end of the last fiscal year, we've increased our general fund balance by 166%. So I think Oswego is in very good shape and can weather just about any storm that we see out there. How are we performing in the village? Well, this past year our EAV went up $41 million across the village. That is huge. That is almost 10% increase in the value, the wealth in our community. And $14 million of that was due to new construction. We're not done. We have another slide for our fiscal highlights. How are we performing as far as the different revenue streams we have? Or sales tax, and this is a very telling instrument here. Sales tax is up 22% fiscal year to date. So our residents are coming out. Residents from other communities are coming in. You know, we couldn't do it alone, so it shows we're really growing. We're drawing people into the community, and people are spending their money in Oswego. The income tax revenue is up 26% year to date. And we have a little graphic for that. I've shown this every year, but you can see, how COVID impacted us with our unemployment rate. And Oswego, as I have said in years past, we always lead not only the state, but we lead the county getting our employment back up. And you can see we're at 2.6 unemployment rate is the last number released, almost back to pre-COVID numbers of 2.3. So we still have a little bit of room to grow. So we're not done yet. It's still going to be, as far as we can see, some very good numbers coming up. Now, when you look at the overall tax rate, this is important too. When we took office a couple years ago, Oswego was at 10% tax rate for a resident would come in. That's what they're going to see. That's what they're going to figure they're going to pay in property taxes. Well, I'm very happy to report now that's down to 9.45% for residents moving to Oswego and the current residents here. And although I don't like to be competitive with our neighbors or have a competition, I think it's important to be competitive on the tax rate when you look to attract commercial businesses into town. So we're reducing our overall tax rate, and we're very competitive with our neighbors that will allow us hopefully to attract businesses, not get excluded because of our tax rate. Now, a lot of these numbers, and I don't know if Mark's here today. Is Mark in the crowd today? He is. Can we get a spotlight back there, Julie? Can we twist that around? And there we have it. Mark, could you stand up? There's Mark Horton. He's our financial whiz. And I got to say, I've really enjoyed working with Mark. I hope he's enjoyed having someone that really wants to dig in these numbers like I do with him. He might think I'm a pain sometimes, but we have some very good conversations about these numbers. And sadly, Mark is going to retire and leave the village this year. It'll be a great loss. I will miss him a great deal. Mark, thank you for everything you've done. Kept our ship moving in the right direction. And I hope the new chapter in your life is just as fulfilling. Thank you very much. Now, I also told Jennifer Hughes, our Public Works Director, that we're going to focus on Public Works this year. I look back, 2 years ago we had one slide on Public Works, my first State of the Village. And Jennifer, I told her she's going to be the star of this State of the Village. And she has a very dry and quick way. She told me, well, I'll do my hair then. So I'm glad to see she did her hair. She's here. But she's done a very good job for us, outstanding job. And there's a lot of slides that we can talk about Public Works. But obviously the thing we need to start with is our water. We made a huge decision this year to source our water from Lake Michigan. We have an aquifer that is being depleted faster than it can be replenished. And we made the decision to go to Lake Michigan after really 2.5 years of study, meetings, consultants. And we believe we made the best choice for Oswego. And, we had neighbors join us. We're going into this with Yorkville and Montgomery, and we're working through this together. I think it's going to be a great solution for the region. We're going to source our water from the DuPage Water Commission, but we have work to do. We made the decision, now the work begins. So the first thing we need to do is get some legislation changes in Springfield so we can have representation in the DuPage Water Commission. And I'm happy to say this is updated from just, this slide going on. Senator Holmes and Representative Wheeler are spearheading this effort for us in Springfield, and we just got out of the Senate committee on Monday. Much thanks to our friend Senator Holmes for getting us through there. That's the first hurdle. And, we get that changed. We're not done. We have to move on to getting our water allotment from Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Now, even though the DuPage Water Commission has the extra water to source our region, we still have to say how much we're going to take. I mean, it's IDNR is really thoughtful and careful about the water supplies that come out of Lake Michigan. They have to share it with other states, so we have to go through this hurdle as well. And after that, of course, we need to reach an intergovernmental agreement with Montgomery and Yorkville and determine what share each community is going to spend. But working through them the past 2.5 years, I don't expect any trouble with that. I think everything is moving ahead very rapidly. But we do have a very large price tag for this. We expect the Oswego portion will cost about $75 million. So without a doubt, our water rates will go up. We've been very open about that. But there's a couple principles we want to follow as well. It's very important that the future residents of Oswego share the cost burden with the current residents. All too often in our past, the entire burden has been shouldered by the current residents for the future. And I want to make sure, and the rest of the board, we want to make sure that there's a cost sharing. It can't be the current residents shouldering this forever. So there's some ways we're going to look at that. Another principle that's important is we need to protect rates, since they are going to go up, for our seniors and those on fixed incomes in Oswego. We have to have some semblance of price protection. So how can we do that? We're talking about a lot of ideas, but I think we're ready to unveil a couple. And the first one is a real estate transfer fee. So this basically becomes a closing cost that'll be added for new home purchases in Oswego. And that all those monies collected will be directly sent to our water fund. So that way, future residents will help share the burden. Now, we also know that this has to go to referendum. This is something that only home rule communities can do. So this is something we will have to take out to the voters, but I expect this will be a very popular referendum item because we are cost sharing here. We're making sure the future residents shoulder some of this cost as well. And to make sure our current residents don't shoulder this alone, we're going to have an exclusion for current residents if they sell their home and then purchase another home in Oswego. We want to make sure that there's a sharing here between our current residents and the new residents that come in. I mean, this water solution is going to last for hundreds of years. So that's only the fair thing to do. And to get that cost protection for our senior community, we're going to investigate some tiered rates. Okay, so right now we have one rate for all. That's something we want to investigate that, and we'll talk about that more at the next board meeting. Continuing with Public Works, the next major project we have underway is Wolf's Crossing. So last year, when I talked about this, I said we're waiting on phase 2. We've submitted, we're waiting for that. Well, we're long past that now. So we're currently acquiring property, and I believe we've acquired enough property now that we can start the project. What the project will entail is reconstructing intersections at Harvey Road and DeVoe Drive. We're also going to have a water main project that runs concurrently. And it's not gonna be, if you can see the graphic, it's not gonna be just a bland road. We're gonna have nice landscaping. We're gonna have a walking path on one side, a sidewalk on the other. So this is gonna be a nice parkway going through Oswego. A great improvement from the 2-lane farm road that we currently have. And we hope we can start construction. Bids will open this year, and we hope construction starts next spring, and we want to be completed by Christmas of 2023 with this first phase. Now, very importantly, I've talked about this quite a bit publicly, but not once have I mentioned we're going to sink debt for this, or we're going to raise taxes for this. This first segment, and hopefully many segments, we're going to tackle on our own. Every project we've had in the history of Oswego, has come at a cost for our residents, and this is one I think we can do. I don't have to go out to the community and ask for more sharing on this. I think this is something the village can handle, and we're looking forward to that. We wouldn't have a slideshow, certainly, without talking about Venue 1012. We opened August 19th, had our ribbon cutting grand opening, and importantly, we were completed ahead of schedule and under budget. Just how you want projects, right? So when we started this, we talked about a backstop of $750,000. That's what we wanted to do for this first phase. Well, we did a little better than that. Okay, we got the bids in for phase one. We saw that we were well under our $750,000. We raised some funds in the private sector. We got some grants, and the total spend for phase one from Oswego was $514,000, significantly under budget. And we received private donations of $565,000. Now, we had some big events out there already. We had Vet Fest, Oswego's Got Talent, Pumpkin Pickup, Starlifter, Christmas Drive-Thru. So we've used it already, since it's opened a lot. And we're going to use it a lot more when we get to that. We were able, since we were under budget, to come up with some nice additions that's included in that $514,000. We were able to bring water to the stage, have stairs to the stage, a curved sidewalls, stone and masonry work. We installed a security camera. We made an ADA ramp and a front of house. If any of you see that little building or that little pad out in front, that's where they actually work the soundboards and the cameras for the concerts, and we were able to add that, all included in that $514,000 cost of the village. We have some other items coming up. Phase two this year, at minimum, we're going to look at a permanent fence, parking lot resurfacing, and lightning detection. And we'll see what else we can squeeze in this year. Further enhancements that are probably next in line, we want to have a walking path, donor plaza, and sponsor wall. And if you see the graphics here, this is what our rendering, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, you can see the entrance, the path going in, you can see the donor wall up top, but also on the left of the bottom graphic. And big news, okay? A couple weeks ago, we found out we won the American Public Works Association Fox Valley Project of the Year Award, okay, for under $5 million. Great award for us to win. And we have to give thanks not only to Jennifer Hughes, but to Susan Kwasny, who submitted all the paperwork for this. So a big hand for them for working on this. But we're not done with Public Works. We talked about a dog park. So the first dog park in Oswego, we hope to open this year. It is not a small dog park. We're going to use an acre, okay? And it's not going to have just one open field. It's going to have large and small dog paddocks. And we're going to have a third paddock for training. So we'll have an obstacle course for the dogs, something to keep them busy. And I think it's important. This is a good piece for the community to bring our families together, and all of our family. We can bring our four-legged members out there, not the cats yet, but we'll have the dogs out there, so we can do some more enjoyment around the community. It will be ADA accessible, so you'll be able to view the dogs and area. We're going to have sunscreens and trees. Sunscreens will provide the initial shade for the dogs until the trees mature and grow in. And we're going to have water tables, or picnic tables, and a water fountain. We have already ordered the fencing, and that's the big piece for this. And we expect an early summer completion, so we'll be able to take our dogs out there this year. Now let's talk about more of the nuts and bolts of Public Works, and I want to talk about our leaf collection program. This year, leaves didn't drop early, so we worked very hard on this, and we did a good job, great job. Again, thanks to all the public work workers and Jennifer, Susan, everybody there. But this year we collected 386 loads. And if you look at last year, we collected 364. That represents a pretty big increase. And you can see the graphic there, how we're ramping up. If we don't keep an eye on this, this is going to cause a problem for the village as our new subdivisions mature, trees get bigger, have more leaves. We have to keep an eye on this. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve. We made our first new investment in the leaf program since 2014. The first thing we purchased just a couple months ago to finish up the season was a new 2-man leaf machine. Now, I put the 2-man out there because right now, believe it or not, our leaf crews are 4-man. So we have a couple truck drivers, we have a machine that is handheld that the crews use to suck up the leaves, and then we have somebody that has to rake the leaves close to the machine because it can't extend very far. Well, this new two-man leaf machine gives us the ability to reach into yards. It's rideable, so we don't have somebody walking along all day long, and it sucks the leaves up through hydraulic controls. Very useful. And I know one of the things the guys told me about, if it rained on the leaves and then froze, the leaf piles became solid, and the only way to break those apart was to kick them. So, that doesn't sound like a very, healthy way for our workers. It doesn't sound very safe. So this two-man machine, the hydraulics actually will break the ice on the leaves and then suck them up. So we've not only improved efficiency a great deal, but we've also improved the safety. We also just at the last board meeting purchased 2 new trucks that will house the bins that will cart the leaves away. And in the next board meeting, we hope to approve a hook truck. Now, what this does, it allows you to put different attachments, maybe a street sweeper attachment, a leaf collection attachment, onto a new truck, and it doesn't take a lot of manpower to switch over from snow plow to leaves to street sweeper. It does it pretty much automatically. And the great thing about this, it's a one-man leaf crew. It's controlled by one person. So now we've taken our 4-man crews, we've shrunk them down to 2-man, and now even a 1-man crew. So we're improving our efficiency all over the board, and actually this will pay for itself over time pretty quickly. If we're talking about public works, we have to talk about roads. And this graphic just grows. When we took office in 2018, that year we resurfaced 0 miles, but we've steadily increased the miles. Right now we have scheduled to resurface 4.5 miles, and I'd still like to, we'll see when the budget comes around, but I'd like to squeeze out more miles than that. That's fundamental to what your government should be doing for you, is resurfacing roads. We restarted the Parkway tree replacement program a couple years ago, and this year we replaced 176 trees. That's a lot of trees. And obviously it was needed if we're replacing that many, and we hope to keep that going. And there's a new concept that I'm kicking around called intra-connectivity. Okay, what that does, we have all these great things going on in Oswego, and I want to make sure we're connected and make it convenient for people to enjoy those. So part of this, and I don't have a fancy name for it, it's called intra-connectivity, but we want to continue or finish some of the sidewalk projects that have started around town and then mysteriously stop. So you'll see a sidewalk and then dirt. Well, we want to connect that. We want to make it easy for people to get around town. So we already have one new spot targeted this year. We're looking on the west side of Route 31 to connect River Run to the downtown by sidewalk. And then we want to keep what we have. We don't want to lose what we have, so we're going to seal coat our existing paths. And then we're going to work on some downtown parking as well, some more public parking. And also, you've seen a lot of the Christmas lights. The decorations went away, but the lights and the trees did not. Okay, we're going to have a downtown that's lighted. Our trees are all going to have lights on them. Not only that, we're going to be piping in music. And we hope to have that completed this summer. So you'll see there's approximately 25 trees with lights still on them downtown. We're going to get about 25 more. And then our downtown will be lit. We'll have music piped out, make it a very enjoyable walk downtown. Okay, now we're going to shift gears over to the police department. We had a very busy year for the police department, and you saw one of the graphics when we first came in was a swearing in of an officer. That has kept us busy. We had a lot of retirements this year, but I'm very happy to say, not only did we keep up with the retirements, but we will hire our 51st officer in March, and that is a high we haven't seen for, 15 years. So we moved this 51st body up from next year's budget to this year's budget, and they're approved to be hired, and we hope to be up to full speed in March. So not only have we kept ahead of the curve, or kept up with the curve, we're ahead of the curve right now. And we did that. If you remember, we passed probably something that didn't catch much headlines last year. We passed a lateral transfer program to allow us not to just take new officers from the academy, but to actually bring in officers from other communities and the startup time is much reduced. They can hit the streets, join our force right away. And we've added 5 officers from that lateral transfer program that we started last year. Now this is an important piece too. A lot of the time you wouldn't think that our officers spend, in this area. But we received 336 crisis intervention team calls last year. That is almost 1 mental health call per day. So as this area grows, we have to be aware of this, and we're looking for ways to handle this as well. And we'll probably have some news on that, maybe in conjunction with the county, coming up in the next month or so. We did receive our 5th CALIA certification this year. This is the 5th time we've reached this level. And this is an important level. There's over 400 areas that our officers have to be educated on and show that we're proficient in. And it's not an easy thing for police departments to get. As a matter of fact, only 5% of all the police departments in the nation, only 4% in Illinois, reach this level of certification. And we're happy to be one of them. And while we're talking about the police department, I'll go back to Mark again, our police pension fund has reached our 90% funding level, okay? And the state average is only 55%. So we continue to pay that ahead. A couple years ago, we moved the amortization table from 23 years to 20 years. And just to tell you what a solid state this is in, there's legislation pending this year for communities to have an extra 10 years to reach that 90% funding level. So that might happen this year. We don't need it, we're there. We've been very diligent in this, we've overpaid it, and this is a problem across the state, but not in Oswego. Moving on to community events. And there's been a lot of talk about this recently, but we unveiled some of our public events a couple meetings ago. We're going to have all the public events that you're accustomed to. We're kicking off our drive around scavenger hunt here St. Patrick's Day, but we're going to have Wine on the Fox, 4th of July fireworks, Luna Fest, our Christmas walk, Christmas drive-through, pumpkin pickup, Oswego's Got Talent, coffee and conversations, and maybe a couple more. We'll see what we can squeeze in, but a lot of credit goes to Julie Hoffman and Christina Burns for this. So if you would like to stand up, actually Julie's running the spotlight, and I don't know if Christina's down here, but Julie, I recommend not shining yourself in front of the spotlight. That probably wouldn't be a good thing. But they've done a tremendous job on this, tremendous job. And we thank them a great deal for that. And the new community events. Okay, we just unveiled this. Every Thursday night during the summer, late spring, fall, our residents know they can go to Venue 1012 and have free entertainment. And I think that's important. It's something that many communities across the state do, and it's about time we did it. And now we have the place to do it, and it gives us one more place to gather, enjoy each other's company, be entertained, and it's free. So every Thursday we're going to have a movie in the park, a concert, or a theatrical performance. So we know on Thursday nights we have something to do in Oswego. And it's family entertainment, and it's free. Now we're also going to add in ticketed concerts. I believe we're going to have 4 of those, and those will be regional bands, and then we're also have the opportunity to bring in a national act. And we'll see how that goes this year. We're very excited about that. I think we proved that the venue in its infancy is capable of hosting a national act. We had them there. We had Low Cash, chart topper in the country, a current chart topper in the country music genre, and Vince Neil for those that remember his music back in the 80s and 90s. But those were good concerts, and we had several others too. So we're really excited about that. So now I'm going to move over to a different area, our residential construction, and this just starts to tell the tale. The secret's out. Oswego is a great place to be. And these numbers, they just show that. You know, very few communities, not just in Illinois, but across the country, are experiencing the growth that we are. So this past year, we had 127 new housing starts. We have 244 that are just waiting for us to issue the occupancy. So that gives us 371 total in the past year. Okay, where did this come from? Well, we have 7 active developments with 8 active developers right now. Okay, so this was a big year, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot coming. We have, in the 2.5, almost 3 years now, we have approved through concept plan, you know, not all of those turn out to hit construction, but through concept plan, we have approved almost 2,400 housing units in Oswego. Now, how many of those make it all the way through is yet to be seen, but we do have several that are under construction or slated to start construction this year. And I want to reiterate, this isn't happening everywhere. You know, this is happening here in Oswego. The first one is Aventera. We have 148 single-family rental homes, and this is on Wolf's Crossing in Douglas. And they have broken ground already. You can see the dirt piles out there if you drive by. So they should, you know, sometime this summer, late fall or early fall, they should be renting some of these homes. And this is a new concept for our area. It's a new concept across the country, actually, but I think we're fortunate to have this underway. Erdman Senior Living also will break ground this year, and we talked about this a couple years ago. This will be behind Village Hall, and it gives a whole transitional housing experience for seniors. And construction will begin this spring for Erdman. Redwood Apartments, another rental home community, will kick off this year as well on the corner of Mill and Orchard, and we have 143 of the single family units. And then just at the last meeting, we gave final approval for Hudson Point, which will be at the corner of Wolf and Route 30. We'll have 312 1- and 2-bedroom rental units and 145 single-family homes. So you can see we're kind of spread across Oswego with these developments, and I think that says something about Oswego as well. There's opportunity all across. We're expanding our borders. We've done 4 annexations since we took office, so we're pushing out, and that's just a great sign of health for the community. And of course, we have a lot of commercial construction as well. Now this is, I put this slide up just to tell you that they're completely rented out. And they just started renting, you know, within the past year. But they're done, they're filled. I think it was October-ish, I talked with Dave Patzel, asked him how they were doing, and they were at 91%. You know, but they're filled. And we'll see if when that next tower gets started, but the way things are going in Oswego, I have no doubts. Everything will fill. It's just the community we have. People want to be here. It's a great community. But you all know that. You live here. So what else did we have going on? Well, this past year, we had 38 new commercial businesses open their doors. Many other home-based, but 38 commercial businesses. So in the past 3 years, that takes us over 130 commercial businesses that have opened in Oswego. Now that's just flat out amazing. Some of the new businesses that opened last year: Roadhouse 71, Dollar Tree, Riverside Pizza and Pub, La Marimba, Delta Sonic, and the Fox Valley Winery moved to downtown and has made a great addition there. It's many times, boy, it's hard to even get in there and be able to get a glass of wine. They're so busy. So a lot of good things happening, and we have still a lot more coming up. Some of the new construction we have going on: Popeyes will open hopefully this month. I saw people actually yesterday. It doesn't say, I saw people in there eating yesterday. I didn't know if it was a staff event or they had opened, but yeah, so we can get our chicken on Orchard Road now. Popeyes is open. Thanks for that, Dan. Freddy's off the chain. They're targeting a May 1st grand opening. Their building is under construction right now. You can see that downtown. We have Riot Pizza to look forward to. They have, I believe they say they have 32 craft beers. It'll be pizza craft beers. They'll have some retro themes there, some games, old video games. They promise loud music, and they're located in Reserve at Hudson Crossing. And Beef Shack. Beef Shack is on Orchard Road as well. I love what they advertise, right? Meat smells have permanently soaked into the wood. That sounds like my type of place for sure. And they're also located on Orchard Road. Be open again in just a couple months. And we have another business opening up downtown, Oak and Bean. And Casey, Julie, can you shine the spotlight down to our guest row? Casey, could you stand up? Casey is the owner. There we go. This is gonna be a great spot to stop in for some specialty coffees in the morning. And then they're gonna change things up a little bit and offer some boutique wines in the afternoon and evening. They're also gonna have some sandwiches, pastries in the morning. And again, they are also located in Reserve at Hudson Crossing. So it wouldn't be State of the Village without some breaking news. Okay, so let's start with the venue. So I mentioned before, the venue a couple weeks ago won the American Public Works Association Fox Valley Project of the Year. Well, once you win an event, like most competitions, you go on to the next round. Well, we got sent to the next round, and we just found out that the Venue 1012 has been awarded the Chicago Metro Chapter Project of the Year in the under $5 million category. Big deal, you know. And some of the things they cited why we won the award was the collaborative design process, and man, did we spend time on that. A lot of meetings on that. And a lot of people, so it worked out beautifully. But also our community involvement, and we did reach out, several studies, several surveys, asked for design input from the community, so those things stood out. And now, guess what? Now we move on to the national award. And can you imagine that? If we win the national award. That is just amazing. But we're there. We're in the competition now. More breaking news. Now everybody wants to talk garbage, right? That's what we're down to. We're talking garbage tonight. This is a very important announcement for the village. So our group contract is set to expire this year, and we just reached a 7-year contract extension with Groot, and this will go in front of the board in March as well. Here's some of the highlights of this. And think about the inflation rates running today. Okay, so we are going to have a 2.9 monthly increase, and that amounts to 64 cents per resident. If we stayed in the current contract, it called for 4%. So we're coming in under the current contract significantly. But we're not done. Every resident receives a free 95-gallon waste toter. Now keep in mind, 35% of our residents that use this service already have a toter and they pay for it. They pay $2.29 a month. Guess what happens to those 35%? They get that reduction in their bill. So their bill significantly drops. What else do we have? We've added 1 extra week of free yard waste pickup. So now we have 3 weeks of free yard waste pickup. And this is important for a lot of people. The yard waste sticker is frozen for the next 7 years. We've also rolled in free service at Venue 1012. They'll be picking up the garbage there and no extra cost to the village. And this, we initially started a conversation, this will go back to our slide about the LEAF program. We told Groot we need help with our LEAF program. And we explained that, our trees are maturing. This is something we really need our waste provider to help out with. And they stepped up to the plate. Groot is going to contribute $75,000 a year for the next 7 years to Oswego that will go directly to our leaf collection program. You know what that means? We won't be asking our residents for any more, taxes to pay for leaf pickup. Groot has really stepped up, and that's a big deal. That's a lot of money, over $500,000, if I do my math right. That'll be over the life of the contract, and we'll definitely invest that back in our leaf program. Dairy barn, grand opening. We have a date. Oops, I don't want to go past the date. The date is March 8th. The dairy barn will finally open. So we can go in there. It's been done for a while, but they're ready to open it. They'll have employees all set to go March 8th, just a short time from now. So how about that? That is just, this was a pleasure to be able to come up here and talk about all this great news we have here in Oswego. And we do have an exceptional village with an exceptional amount of activity going on. We're so blessed to be in the situation we are. I tell Dan DeSanto, he's up here in the front row, our village administrator, I tell him all the time, we're on the wave. But once you're there, the hard work begins. It's tougher to stay on the wave than it is to get there, and that's our job, to stay on it. Our outlook is fantastic, but we have to remember what we did to get to this point. We need to continue working together, the village board, the village staff, our business community, and our residents. We need to continue to listen to each other, help each other, and be responsive to each other. There was a man that built a very good business over many years. He also had 2 sons that didn't get along very well. It seemed like they would always argue and bicker. They didn't want to spend time with each other. The man was getting older and really wanted his sons to take over the business, but he was worried they couldn't. Not because they weren't smart enough, but because they couldn't get along. One night he asked his sons over for dinner. While there, he asked his sons to go outside, pick up 10 sticks in the yard, and make a bundle. When he had the bundle, he asked each son to try to break the bundle. They tried and tried, but they couldn't break it. The man then untied the bundle and asked his son to break each stick. They easily snapped each one. The man turned to his sons and said, if you remain divided, anyone or anything can destroy you. But if you remain united, you have the strength to handle any problem. We too, by working together, can handle any problem. This is a lesson to remember. It's great to be dealt a great hand, but it's even better and also necessary to play a poor hand well. The outlook for the village of Oswego is fantastic. Working together, we'll reach the almost limitless potential that Oswego holds. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your support. God bless you, and God bless Oswego.